Hey guys, it's Baileywiki with a quick preamble. We'll be premiering our first Pathfinder 2E actual play game right here on the Baileywiki channel this coming Sunday. And this is a quick interview with the GM, Joby, just to hear about his production setup, modules in use, general prep, that kind of thing. So the whole conversation is about 30 minutes. Feel free to join us for the whole thing or jump around to the timestamps for whatever interests you. With that, let's get started. Hey gang, it's Baileywiki, and all right, so this is going to be fun. I am joined today by Zephyr, who you all know, and I think all of you by now know Joby. Hey Joby.
What's up? What's up? How's it
Hey.
going?
So, what the heck are we doing here today, gang? It's not a session 0. This is more like a session 00 or 000. This is a behind the GM screen session. So for those of you who don't know, Joby is the DM GM for the Familiars, which we'll get into here in a second, but it's a live play game. And we've gotten to build a relationship with Joby over the last year or so. Love the cut of his jib.
Yeah,
And yep, and we really are interested when you said you're going to come up with the next season of the Familiars. Wanted to rally around it, and so we're going to talk about that. This is a behind the GM kind of how did Joby prep for this season, and you'll see the season actually come up and premiere on was it May 5th?
yep.
That
Sunday, May 5th.
Cinco de Drinko.
Cinco de Drinko de Familiaro
All
is
right.
the official name. Yes.
I love it. So May 5th, and actually also interesting, it's going to be, and the whole season is going to be airing on right here on the Baileywiki channel, which is a
That's
first.
correct. Yeah, we're super psyched to be the premier live play experience for Baileywiki specifically. I've been using the assets for a long time, and I love them. I think they're the best ones. So we're super pumped to be able to bring our familiar magic over to your channel for your audience. It's going to be awesome.
It is going to be awesome. And what are we planning for the premiere? We're all gonna jump on and answer comments and stuff like that and
Yeah. Yeah.
carry on and have a
Basically,
good time.
yeah, absolutely. So we pre-record just because we want to give everybody the best possible product out there. In our episodes, we aim for them to be just around an hour, just because we think that that's a really good way to take them in. And also, what that means is that the whole cast and members from the Baileywiki team are going to be on the chat with all of y'all, chatting about the episode as we go. It's super fun. We did a lot of that in season 1 when we had our own channel. It's actually how we got hooked up with you.
Yeah,
Billy.
I was lurking in the chat and had
Yeah,
such a good time that we ended up carrying it forward with all sorts of other stuff. For those of you who want to check it out, you'll see a bunch of our stuff. There's probably going to be some surprises, not just some stories telling surprises, but some production stuff and some custom assets and stuff like that. But if you want to check it out, hit the little bell icon there below or whatever you're looking, whatever YouTube screen you're looking at, just to get a reminder of that episode when it comes out here in just a couple of weeks. So with that, I thought as a behind the GM screen video, I want to kind of dig into some of your prep, Joby. How does that sound?
sure. Yeah,
Okay.
that sounds awesome. I'm psyched.
Okay. So real quick, what is the familiars? And for those of you who aren't who those who don't already know.
Great. So the Familiars is basically we got together during COVID. It's me and my actor friends, and we're all professional actors. We've been acting in Los Angeles and New York on TV, on Broadway, what have you, for the last decade or so. And during COVID, we missed performing, and we just really wanted to find a way to do that. I'd been playing games for a long time. I'd been playing Dungeons and Dragons with my friends live, and then during COVID, started doing it online. And we thought it would be really fun to get together and start playing games together. And it was so fun
Hmm.
that we decided to make a stream and a podcast about it. So, you know, we were Googling how to do this as we did it. We decided that it was better to just start putting stuff out that was not as perfect as we wanted it to be, but had that spirit and pizzazz behind it. And learn as we go. And learn as we go, we did, and we taught ourselves, all of the audio stuff, how to figure out Twitch, figure out YouTube,
Yeah.
all that jazz, and soundtrack it and all. And 40 episodes later, we got about halfway through Storm King's Thunder. And you can check that out on the Familiars YouTube yourself right now. It's pretty awesome.
It is awesome. It was a good first season. A lot of Chaos Monkeys in the
Yeah.
in the crew there. A lot of talent. I just love good voice. People who can do voices and step into characters is just great. And by the way, you do a bunch of production, and one of the goals of this episode here, and if we do more of these, and by the way, for everyone listening, if you're interested in how Joey does his setup, how he does his production, like everything, like we're going to talk about some of it tonight. But if you're curious, leave something in the comment, leave questions that you'd like us to cover, or if you do follow the season, let us know in the comments what you'd like us to go into. If you're like, hey, how did they do that magic, or how did they automate that thing, or whatever it is, let us know. So with that, okay, Joby, what did you like learn from season one? You learned a bunch of stuff, and you're presumably building on some of that. What what did you learn, and how is that like sort of informing what your season two is going to be, like what you're going to change about it, or keep the
Sure.
same?
So we learned a ton. Again, we put out 40 episodes, and I was playing with veteran players and also people who this was their first campaign. They're all veteran actors, but some of them were new. And so I thought Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition was a great way to start because it was the game that I knew the most, and it's best if the GM has some kind of facility with what's going on when you start out. Um, and but we didn't know exactly where we were going to play, how it was going to look. We're playing with people who also have a variety of different computer systems, and
Right.
so we had to juggle all of that. But we finally settled on Foundry because that was the one that I knew the best, and we finagled it in such a way that it worked on everybody's computers. That being said, we all remember the OGL debacle.
Right.
And when that happened, I just made a couple of decisions. I didn't really like the way that Wizards of the Coast at the time was handling things. And I had heard tell that there was another game out there, which might be news to some people, but it turns out that Dungeons and Dragons is not the only game
You don't
out there.
say.
It's true. It's true. And I had just started listening to Glass Cannon, and I was interested in Pathfinder, and so I just up and picked up the beginner's box, which is fantastic, which you can actually get on Foundry. It's already ready to rock. Really fun to play. So
Nice.
I decided to float the idea to the familiars about putting a pause on our Dungeons and Dragons campaign of Storm King's Thunder and trying out a new game, and they were down. We played through the beginner's box, which was a great introduction for all of us,
Hmm.
and we just liked the combat. Specifically, we
Yeah.
thought that the combat system in Pathfinder was just a little bit more dynamic. I, as a GM, liked the monsters that were out of the box in Pathfinder Second Edition. I find that it's not just so much big hunks of meat with hit points and a large sword. That
Hmm.
each monster, each thing that the party faces, has a special thing that they don't expect and then have to deal with, and
Cool.
those things were just super fun. And then finally, Pathfinder just interacts with Foundry VTT so well.
It
The
really is the
integration,
best implementation
yes,
in VTT for Pathfinder, and I think that's known, right? I mean, I
yeah,
think it's the best, biggest community as far as I know, because it's
yeah.
so
I
well
mean,
done.
the things that you can do and find and just drop into your campaign without any kind of headache is like astounding. The fact that all the bestiaries of almost all the books are just ready for you to just, drag something in, drop it, and then it's already there for you is fantastic. So those are the reasons that we switched and we played through the beginner box and then decided to pick an adventure. And after a little bit of deliberation, we ended up with the Extinction Curse adventure path.
Okay, oh, there we go. And there is the big circus tent.
Yep, there it is.
Nice. So this is what came in the box,
Right.
and you said, "Hey, I want to do this adventure," and then we jumped in and said, "Okay, well, let's maybe make some artwork to support it, maybe a la style of Baileywiki and team." And I know that you've got some other surprises planned for this season, but yeah, I'm looking at a very full big tent. This looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is super fun. One of the mechanics in the Extinction Curse that really attracted us to it is this entire circus mechanic. We're going to be spending a lot of time in the circus, and it's basically an entire mini game where each of the characters goes out and they perform an entire circus performance.
Ha,
Each of them broken up into various acts, and it's a way to generate money. It's something that's going to be happening throughout the entire campaign. And us being a group of actors really just sort of jumped at this idea. And so since we were going to be spending a lot of time here, we wanted the map to look super duper sweet. And I just want everybody to know that is watching this that I am not like a professional map maker. I'm not a professional artist. And yet I know the GMs out there will feel this. I'm a perfectionist and I want it to look fantastic.
sure.
So, these drag and drop assets are really great. And basically, this was just a dance between Dungeon Draft and then going into Foundry and going back and forth between the two. It didn't take too long. And then these are little just top-down Hero Forge minis that are we just dropped in. And so thank you, Hero
Love
Forge,
it.
if you're watching. And that combined with Mass Edit to just drop in these lights here, give it a really nice feel. So players were psyched, I was psyched, and it didn't take too long, but I was very thankful for the Baileywiki team to put in these awesome details, all this distress and things. It really makes it feel dynamic and alive.
Love it. All right, so there's three places I want to go here. I want to
Great.
talk about your production setup.
Yeah.
Then I want to talk about whatever prep you did, like inside or outside of Foundry.
Yeah.
And then I want to, just because everybody loves this part and I love this part, I want to see your module loadout. Show me how many modules you're rocking, and maybe give me some highlights on what you picked and why. Does that sound good?
That sounds great. Yeah, I dig
Okay.
it. All right.
All right. So let's start at the top. What is your production setup? Like,
Yeah.
what do you got? What do you got rocking there behind the
Oh
GM
man.
screen or online or whatever?
This has been the thing that has evolved the most over time, and I think I finally figured it out. So, first of all, what you're looking at here is my screen as the GM. Okay.
Hmm.
So, a couple things I've got for the familiars, it's pretty simple. And what I'm going to also show you is what I'm running for my more casual game, which has an entirely different setup. I'm running Abomination False with another group. But for familiars, we keep it pretty simple. And what we do is we actually roll physical dice. We
Mm,
found that we like it the most. And so the internal setup is we keep it pretty simple. Basically, we use the map to just be a map and to use it for positioning and to help me remember how many hit points people have, right?
great.
And for conditions. Again, these conditions come out of the box with Pathfinder and Foundry. So they're all there and they do what they say they're going to do. So let's say that Ralton becomes blinded. What's nice is that then you'll have this little message up here that tells you exactly what that is. If you want it to go away, you just click it away. So that part of it is super duper sweet. That is my GM screen. Now, the other thing that I've got up is, oh, remind me the module name here. It's Monk's Player Vision. It's the way that we can basically conduct what the vision is
Uh,
for players.
Monk's Common Display.
There
Thank
you
you.
go.
Monk Common Display. That's the module. So I've got this on my screen on sort of center screen. And then behind it, what I've got is the player vision. All right. So on what you'll see on my screen, I've got basically the GM light on here in my lighting.
Hmm.
So I can see the whole thing. All right. But what I record for the stream is player vision. And you can see that this is basically what the players are seeing and what I want the audience to be seeing as well. Okay. So I
Nice.
can do things behind the scenes here if I wanted to, but I'm not worried about the audience or my players seeing anything they're not supposed to. And what's nice about this is that I have it basically synced up with my GM's mouse wheel. And so what I'm seeing in my GM screen, you can see it moving here. So I don't have to look in a ton of different places to know what the audience is seeing. And
Nice.
another thing on a
Is
big
that
map.
is that a function of Monk's module, or is that
So I have a confession. I have so many modules running, and I'm excited to finally show people my the amount of modules that I run. Sometimes I misplace what module exactly does what, but I think that is a function of player vision. It's pretty customizable. I'm sorry, of Monk's Common Display.
Got it.
It's pretty customizable, but just because the nerds will appreciate this, what I have set up is you need to basically create a player called Player Vision, or I call it
Mhm.
Player Vision. And then what I do in my actors here is that I make sure that each player, let me just go into the configure ownership. You can see here, um, the player themselves. So this is for Vega Velaray, I believe. So the ownership. Oh no, this is for Cranston. So the
Yep.
owner is Annalise, our player Annalise, and then I also made Player Vision the owner. Okay.
Yep.
So then that means that no matter who I click over to, that player is going to have full vision, and we're going to be able to see what they see when we go over to them. So, for example, what I like about this is that if I'm over here on Vega, but I've totally forgotten where I placed Ralton,
Hmm.
all I do is click down here. This is another Monk module, which is fantastic. And you'll see what happens when I do that. I click over to Ralton and it moves. It's moving on my screen and it's moving on the stream
Nice.
screen,
Love
right?
it.
So I can go very quickly from one player to the next. So those are the two things those are two of the main things that I have up. We have finally decided to move over to record on Riverside FM.
Hmm.
This is a paid service, but if you can afford it, or if your group can afford it, I'd highly recommend it, because we have maxed out Zoom's capabilities. Okay. So if you
Yeah.
ever want to know how to do that, we can tell you. We used a free service called Video Ninja, which was really, really good. But since we have 6 players, we have 6 people on the stream, it just started maxing that out. Riverside FM is a great way to record video, sound, and what it does is it records separate audio and separate video for every single player.
Oh, that's great.
And then, yes, and then basically you hit record once and it records it to its own cloud. So then you download it later, and it's super easy to individually edit each person's audio and video. So I highly recommend that. And maybe
Wow.
if we have an extra credit session, I can show you the Adobe Premiere template that I use to edit all of that stuff.
I love it.
But last but not least, I use Notion to track my DM notes. And I'm
Yep.
using Sly Flourish's Lazy GM Notion template here. And it's really fantastic. I want to be careful not to show anybody too many spoilers here, but I can just generate. You'll see what I just did. I clicked this little button here, generate
Hmm.
session planning template. And I'm going to open this up. And what you're going to see here is a pre-generated prep template. I cannot stress enough how awesome this thing is. I've customized it a little bit, but you can see basically this is like the Mad Libs of
Great.
GM prep. So you just fill this in, and it really helps me get my mind around what's going to happen in the session. So I have that up on another screen. And then last but not least, I have Archives of Nethys up, which is again a fantastic online resource for free with everything in Pathfinder that you could ever want. So that's what I have
Amazing.
up. And so far, so good.
I love it. Okay. So anybody that had any questions or want to hear like follow-ups on any of this stuff, let us know in the comments. Next up, what did you do in terms of prep? Like either inside or outside Foundry?
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So obviously, I've read the adventure, and for Extinction Curse, it's pretty specific because there is not a pre-written or pre-made adventure for the Extinction Curse to be just dropped into in a compendium for Foundry. So for the Extinction Curse, it's of course doing all the GM stuff, which is reading the adventure and prepping it. Then there's this added layer that I know a lot of GMs out there deal with, of making maps and what are my players going to be looking at
Mhm.
when they're playing. So basically what my workflow is right now is that I start with the PDF of the adventure,
Mhm.
and so you can see here the circus map, the circus map itself. This is there's no spoilers here. This is just a map that's of the land right outside of the circus where a lot of things take place.
Okay.
So I crop this image and then I load it in to Dungeon Draft. And what's nice about Dungeon Draft is that it has a trace image capability,
Right.
right? And so I pop that in, and basically I load that up, and then I start just using my terrain brushes here to basically just paint by numbers.
Yeah.
And I just try to get a rough idea of what the general spacing is going to look like, right? And then I just take that down and see how it looks. Once I get a basic idea, this is like a finished product, but I take the basic idea and then I load it into Foundry. And you'll see here what I've got. And I'll just use tile sort here really quickly to show you all the tiles that I have. So you can see that there's a ton of tiles here, and everything you can see that's selected is not on the original map, right?
Yep.
So
Right.
I get a good layout here of what it looks like and where I want things to land. Then I take a screenshot of this. I go back to Dungeon Draft, and you can see that I actually have loaded in the trace image. The image I have traced here is my Foundry screenshot,
Nice.
right? So I just then do the detail work around where I ended up placing the wagons and the campfire, and maybe I want like little paths, footpaths that I think might be cool with the prefabs of the tiles that I've set. And I go back and forth between the two. When I get something that I like, I then just load it back into Foundry and then start adding on all the little bells and whistles that you can do here in Foundry.
Nice. And these maps are going to be referenced a lot in the adventure, right? I mean, that's why it's worth putting some time into these.
Absolutely. We've pre-recorded a good portion of our episodes, at least for book 1 of the adventure, and the party has spent a ton of time here in this circus camp, so it was well worth the time that I put in.
Whereas if you had like, a battle at a campsite, out in the woods, you'd probably just pull something down for that and
easy.
do some quick prep. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, just use one of the pre-gen maps. But this was fun to make, honestly. Like, this is just the players got to walk around and check out. It was fun for them to walk into the different wagons and to head over into the woods, and really discover what was there. So that was really fun.
Love it.
And so that's once I get the map going, I have my Notion up just to take notes as I go, because making the maps is also part of the storytelling. And so I make sure that I keep that up. So if any ideas come to me, I just take some notes on what I think might happen.
Love it. All right. Anything else on the prep side that you want to talk about before you walk us through
I
the
would
modules?
say, yeah, sure. One thing would probably be music. I've found that I'm really into music for the session.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that I've been using is Monument Studios, basically their entire catalog here. And I've found that it's been great for me you'll see I have like a session folder. So this is basically all of their music.
Wow.
And one thing I'll do is before I go in to the session, or even while I'm making the maps, honestly, I'll just start playing with some of these different musical ideas, and I'll drag them into my session folder. And I have, just in case they run into a battle, if there's a dramatic scene going on, we do a lot of acting and a lot of role playing on the Familiars. So a lot of times I find myself having to kind of soundtrack a scene between two players or between a player and an NPC. And so I think having some good 1-hour mixes to just sort of set and forget is a great idea for a bunch of GMs. And I know that places like Monument Studios has those. But then I also recommend having your battle playlist. You'll see here that I have it set up to, I was super salty. I didn't even set this the way I usually have it. Oh, no, I did.
You have it, shuffle, right.
Yeah, I have it on shuffle, and I also recommend y'all to set the fade duration, because I hate having the music just cut out when I hit stop. So having the fade in there just gives it a sort of nice, easy out for the scene that when you're trying to transition to something else.
Now, does Monument have a Foundry module, or how did you get their stuff into Foundry?
So they do have a basic Foundry module to just give people a taste, but this was a manual load in for me. I just basically they have specials all the time, and basically whenever they had a special, I would just buy the new pack, and then I would just drag and drop and use Ripper's media optimizer to make sure that these are OGG files and
Love
not MP3s or waves. So it's nice and lightweight.
Love it. Awesome. Great. That's great. Okay. So what do you think? Anything else to show on the prep stuff?
On the prep stuff, I would like to show one thing of just what it looks like when I have a different
Oh yeah, that's good.
a
Something to compare this
pre
to?
yeah, like I've been running Abomination Vaults with my quote unquote casual group. So let me go back to my setup here. And I'm going to click over to Abomination Vault. And join the game. And what's nice about this is that the Familiars is really customized. It's really, I can make the maps however I want them to look. There's a lot of handiwork that goes in on all levels for something like the Familiars.
Sure.
And when I just want to play, I get to come over to the Abomination Vaults with my casual friends, and this is what you get. You get this whole map here that if you click into any one of these journal notes, the whole thing is ready to rock for you with encounters, with all of the descriptions.
So good.
And let me just drop something in here. So these friends that I play with are much more tech savvy. They all have slightly more powerful computers, and they really love spending time in Foundry and customizing their characters. So you can see here, this is not something that you'll necessarily see on the Familiars because we like to use our words and descriptions to alight your imaginations. But with my other casual friends here, what they like to do is see pretty things do cool stuff. So, for example, we're going to have my buddy Jiro. They've all customized their attacks and spells to look like how they want them to look. And so let's just do Flurry of Blows. You can see here, Jiro's going to have that cool graphic going there. Let's have our wizard do something cool. This is Merrick. I'm sure they won't mind me blowing up their spot. And let's just go over to, we'll do Telekinetic Projectile or Ray of Frost. Why not? Ray of Frost. We'll do that. Goes over to the chat here, and we're going to attack, roll, and you can see, boom. It's all like, so here's the sort of more full loadout that I definitely wanted to show. And just in case anybody's wondering, Baileywiki has full videos on how to do this, but it's just super fun to go in and to really make your spells look how you want them to look. So, if your players are into that, this is definitely something I would recommend. Cool?
Love it. That's great. Thanks for showing us the prep. Now, do you want to go back into your other world or show us this world? Like, where do you want? Let's go into the Familiars.
Yeah, let's go back to the Familiars. And do we get to do modules now? Can we talk modules? Is that?
Let's do modules now. That's whatever it's what the mob wants. It's the red meat.
What the mob wants. Yes. Let's just take a look at these. Where else do you get to talk about modules? So it's not a gargantuan number. I've seen higher. I know Zephyr has got upwards of 200, maybe.
I've cut way back. I used to definitely have a problem, but
okay, it's good. Just little bites.
Yeah.
Just one step at a time. It's totally. You can stop anytime you want.
Exactly.
Right now, it looks like I've got 85 active. I'm going to scroll a little bit slower. I've got 85 active modules here for Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Thank you, Monk. Always. Thank you, Monk. Moulinet, fantastic. I'm just like blazing past here. There's going to be a couple that I talk about specifically, but this is my list of what I use in my games.
Great. A lot of familiar names in here.
Yeah. I talked a little bit about player vision, but you can see it here in action. It's really quite helpful if you want to just be able to control what your players are seeing, or if you're playing at home with a screen either up in the background or on the table in front of you. I find it to be a really fantastic way to help direct where your players might be looking. I showed you a bit of automated animations, which is the greatest way ever to customize what your actions and spells look like. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Combat Carousel. We use Combat Carousel. You're going to see it in the Familiars.
Yeah, from Ripper.
Yeah, from Ripper. And it's a great thing to use also if you're streaming, because you can really customize how the player vision you set up utilizes it and sees
Cool.
it. The way I have player vision set up is that I don't have the chat visible, but Combat Carousel still comes up. And so since you can customize how big it is, it's a great way to like keep your audience involved and know who's up next and
So good.
who's down and what have you. The other two that I think I'd want to mention is Tile Sort has been really great because I've been doing a lot with different tiles, and it's just a great way to like see what's out there like on your map, and to be able to, find things that are maybe hidden behind other things and
if you want to do any mapping in Foundry, you're going to use tiles, and that's where Tile Sort comes in clutch.
It's super duper helpful. And again, one thing that I've only just started to scratch the surface of is mass edit. But
it's a good one.
It's really a game changer. Just like for lighting. I'll go back to the map for the circus tent. Just to not to have to individually change each light. And also not to have to like reinvent the wheel to like find that awesome light color and shade and luminescence that you want, but just to be able to go over to, I think all of these are torch glow always on, and you just click all of them, and
it gives you that nice Foundry lighting that you didn't have to go and change 50 sliders to do, right?
You know what I mean? Like that was mind blowing. And I know that is just scratching the surface, that now like you can search a whole bunch of different prefabs. They access your compendiums. It's incredible. So I love mass edit. I think the last one would be probably PF2E Workbench. Again, we're not using this a ton when it comes to the Familiars, but in my other games where it's more computer heavy, PF2E Workbench is just a great way for Pathfinder, especially if you're new to Pathfinder, to be able to utilize and have the math of the various roles and rules done for you. And also to be able to, there's a lot of things you can do as a GM in Pathfinder that you want to be secret, like perception checks and stuff.
Right.
And it just makes it super quick. They have all these different macros that you can just drag onto your hotbar. They have got a loot generator.
Wow.
You can do a treat wounds real quick. It's, it's fantastic. So there's so many more that I could talk about, but I think those are the stars of the show. And sorry for any module developers that I forgot to mention. You're all amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, and we'll, I'm sure, see more highlights as the episodes roll out. And I'm sure we'll do another one of these sessions too, and we might focus on some things that the community is curious about as they've seen the list you just scrolled through, why you're using some of those modules, and then they might have some suggestions. There's, every GM has a suggestion for another GM on what they could be using to make things easier or better, more fun. So I'm sure we'll hear some of that. And don't hold back, everybody, in the comments. Okay, well, this is great. Joby, thanks for walking us through it. I'm excited about the season starting. The season starts what date?
May 5th.
Cinco
stay
de
tuned
Mayo.
For the exact time.
All right, yeah, and everybody just follow the channel, hit the little bell icon. That will give you a reminder when they come out. And in the meantime, thanks, Joby. I'm looking forward to the season starting. Looking forward to being on the comments when the premiere hits. And this is great.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me. I'm super pumped about it, and the whole cast is too.
Great. Can't wait to see you guys unleash on us. All right, guys. We'll see you at the premiere.
All right. See you guys later.
Have a good one.